Brian.
Hey.
I got a question for you.
Ooh, what's up? Talk to me.
What was your first VR is the future, like, whoa, moment?
Oh man, this sounds like some lame ass tweet that somebody would put out, and then I would ignore and not
It was a
respond
great
to.
tweet.
No, VR
Take
is
it
so
back.
the future. VR is the I don't know, man. The menu screen from PlayStation demo disc. No, when I fell
That's
over.
a great answer.
No, when I
Oh.
fell over on my couch the first time I took a turn in Drive Club because my brain couldn't figure out what was real and what wasn't. I literally fell over as if there was some kind of real centrifugal force in my living room.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Wow, what's yours?
Farpoint, baby. I really think Farpoint was like the next evolution of cinematic storytelling. You know, PlayStation for a while now has gone this. Actually, pretty much since the beginning. It used to be FMVs, and some of them are actually pretty good, like Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver or something like that. Like those actually kind of hold up a little bit. But yeah, to me, Farpoint was like, this is the new form of storytelling, and now I get to. Sometimes it goes into like a third person. Sometimes you're like witnessing these cutscenes taking place, but you're like in the scene and you get to look around and see the environment, and it's super immersive to experience. It's like experiencing a movie from within the movie, Brian, and it was so good. Also, that game just rocks. And so does the aim controller. You ready to start the show?
No, man, no, absolutely not. I want to go on record that non-interactive cutscenes are not the future of VR, no matter what AJ is trying to convince you of. Now we can start the show.
All right, let's do it.
This is PSVR Gamescast Live, where we film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you want to watch it live, you can watch it live like you're doing right now. Well, some of you. This is the 84 of you that are here right now. The rest of you, a couple thousand people, you didn't quite make it. But if you don't like looking at us in our big, beautiful faces, I want to put a poll in the chat. Would you swipe right on AJ? I'm going to put a poll in the chat.
Oh, don't do that. Please don't do that.
Then
Please, please spare me.
Then you can always check us out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or other streaming services if you feel like you'd want to. My name is Brian Popp from this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole, and the guy to my right, my partner in crime, AJ from the Underground, PSVR Underground.
Although, now that you mention it, maybe it would just be a picture of me with my aim controller, because then I would know they're the one if they swiped on me. Oh, happy Friday, Brian. What is up, man? What is up, Game Cats, Brax Bro, Mick Coles, PS5 4K gameplay, rest of the Game Cat that sleeps all day. All of you, love you guys. Good to see you. What a happy Friday indeed, Brian. Oh, my goodness. Lots of huge things to talk about. Finally, we tried to it really sucked not being able to talk about some of these things all week long, but we knew that there was something big coming, and we had to completely play it off. And I am super excited, man. Let's do this.
Dude, I'm crazy excited. I'm crazy excited for everyone out there to join Discord. Click the link in the description below. That's where we hang out. That's where this conversation happens 24/7. Also, that's where all sorts of multiplayer stuff happens. That's where all sorts of video game book clubs happen. That's where movie book clubs happen, man. I'm part of so many clubs at this point. And I think that's what Professor Lilith is talking about here with a $3 tip. Says 2 p.m. Eastern this Sunday, Rec Rally. That's going to be the multiplayer meetup. And then, of course, Squadrons, Star Wars Squadrons on the 17th. If you want to get in on those multiplayer meetups, make sure you join us over on Discord. Click the link in the description. We also got Emily Baxter, hashtag the Game Kitten with the $5 tip. Says, Rhonda, not Rhoda, home and doing well. Bought a 65-inch LG C1 OLED today for my gaming room I'm putting together. Pain pills for my own health make me pass out.
And you strap that 65-inch OLED to your head, because otherwise it might not be very useful to you. Congrats on your procedure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad everything went well. And man, I'm stuck with a 50-inch plasma from 10 years ago, I think. And I say stuck with, I absolutely love it. Hopefully it lasts me another 10 years, and then I'll upgrade to something like that Emily Baxter has.
Yeah, Yeah, I bought my 4K TV right before I got a PSVR, and that was a bad decision. It took me like 3 years to use the TV.
It's like
But it was
still in
nice
the
when I
box.
did. Dude, that thing is pristine. Like, it is like brand new right now still.
Nice. It's pretty awesome. Dude, we always thank all the people that are in the Patreon scroll down below. We thank everybody who donates during the show. But every Friday, we like to thank a different group of cats for showing their support in a different way. Tell me about that, AJ.
That's right. We would like to thank those who support us in another way by changing their name to something GameCat related, or something GameCat adjacent, as you and something GameCat adjacent would like to say. And this week, we have 2 new GameCats to welcome to the GameCat Dojo. Starting with Rick Zombie, the GameCat of the dead. Yes, I love it. Are you related to Rob Zombie? I mean, Rick Zombie? That sounds like his brother, like, "Oh, you man, dead, you man."
I feel like that's racist, man. I don't think all zombies are related. All zombies know each other, man.
Whoa.
I don't think that's how this works. Like, oh, you're a zombie? Do you know this zombie? That's not how this works, man. Zombies come from all over the world, different walks of life.
You think all zombies look alike?
Oh, I mean, if you play Onslaught, then yes.
I thought the Onslaught zombies were actually pretty good.
It was the first zombie game that came to mind, to be honest with you. If you play Deadland VR, then yes.
There you go. That's more like it. We've also got Song in the Flame Cat. Oh, I love it, man.
Yeah, you gotta love that, man. Flame Hat's always on top of this shit. Song in the Flame Cat. Guys, if you want to shout out on next Friday's show for changing your name to GameCat because you love us almost as much as we love you, make sure you put hashtag GameCat after you change your name on YouTube or Google in the comments below, and we'll find you, give you a shout out. But that's the only way, man. I'm not going to go through like thousands of comments looking for you. You got to do hashtag GameCat so I can find you nice and easy. AJ, we've got a lot of news stories to talk about today, don't we?
You don't want Brian finding you. We do, man. We have a lot to talk about, and some exciting news even, but we also have some huge updates to some games and a nice little discussion. And today, Brian, is my 20 questions. You going to break the losing streak? I believe in you.
I mean, it's up to the cats, really, man. Like, they're the ones asking the good questions. You know me, man. The
think they
second
have
the
a much
game
better
starts,
chance.
I have no idea. Like, all games that leave from my brain. I have no idea what to do.
Well, we got some interesting news, Brian, kicking things off with some Resident Evil 7.
Nice.
Has officially sold 10 million copies. Now, this was already the highest selling Resident Evil. It's the second most highest selling Capcom game. I think their first was Monster Hunter World, the last one they did. I have that game, and I only played the demo, and it still kills me to this day because it is such a me type of game. But yeah, man, Resident Evil 7 surpasses the old record of, I think it was actually 7 or 8 million, and now hits 10 million copies sold.
Yeah, it's interesting because before launch, Capcom actually went on record saying, we really hope to sell 5 million copies of this. And everybody was like, yeah, right. Resident Evil doesn't sell that many copies. It's not going to happen. And then here we are 5 years later, and it sold double their estimate. Now, the interesting part about this, the thing that we care more about than anything else, obviously we want Resident Evil games to keep selling so they keep making them, but we care more about the VR side of things. And as it turns out, 1,086,629 people have played it in VR, which is 11.7% of all Resident Evil 7 gamers. That's so just over 10% of people, which is crazy because that means only about 20% of people who have a PSVR headset have played this thing.
Yeah, and if you have a PS5 at this point, if you were lucky enough to get one so far, and you have PlayStation Plus, remember, you can go into the PS Plus collection, and the whole game is free
Very true.
as part of that collection. So make sure you go download that. Yeah, I have the disc of Resident Evil 7, and I swapped it out for the digital version because I was like, hey, now I don't have to put in the disc every time. That's just nice.
Yeah, for sure. I still have to put the disc in every time. I should download that, man. That makes so much sense. Damn, so silly.
Real convenient.
But it's a fantastic game, though, man. It's the best looking, I think, by far game. I think it even surpasses Hitman 3 as far as the best looking game on PlayStation VR is concerned. And it kind of kills me that only 20% of people who have a PSVR headset have seen what it looks like in the headset. I know it's scary, and I know that a lot of people are like hesitant to jump into it, man, but like really you're doing yourself a disservice if you have a PSVR headset. Just at least jump in to see what it looks like. Play the first half hour if you can. Right?
Yeah, it is. I don't know if I agree that it's like the best looking game. I don't think so at all. But I do agree that it is amazing looking and has an amazing and effective art design, where it's pretty realistic looking, and then goes for this like realistic horror looking deal. So fantastic looking game, no doubt about it.
Well, see, I was gonna let this slide, but then you brought it up. So, what games look better than Resident Evil 7?
Oh man, I think visually some of the best games. I actually think Hitman 3 looks better. I think Wipeout might look better. Red Matter is probably the best looking game that I can think of. Those textures in that game are mind blowing. And then yeah, I don't know. There's a couple ones.
Yeah, those are good. Those are good games. Those are good examples of great graphics. I can't agree with any of those. Brexbro in the chat says, "Did I do something wrong, or does Hitman 3 VR on PlayStation 5 look identical to the PS4 version? Are you talking about the OG version, or the Pro version? Which one are we talking about, man? Because there's no PlayStation 5 patch as far as we know. So keep that in mind too. If you're going from the Pro to the PS5."
All you are is history. The Ghost Cat says Space Explorer. Obviously, it's just Space Explorer. All you are is history. There is no
We got Donatello the Scientist Gamecat with the $5 tip. Says, "I'm throwing down the gauntlet first. Song in the Smoke is the game of the year. Pizza, pizza, pizza." Man, I can't wait to get to that conversation, man. I'm so excited to talk about Song in the Smoke. This is the first time you and I are going to be able to sit down and actually talk about this publicly. God. I can't believe it. We've talked about it so much over the last, week, 10 days, something like that. It's insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Now, dude, as great as all this Resident Evil 7 information is, as great as the number of people who've played it, and the fact that we'll probably just keep getting Resident Evil games until the end of time, that's awesome news. Now, I wasn't excited about getting Resident Evil movies until the end of time because they were getting worse and worse as they went. But then, of course, Capcom announced Welcome to Raccon City, which is the new Resident Evil movie, and they released a brand new trailer for that yesterday. Did you get a chance to watch this?
No. I'm throwing it up now and gonna check it out. Is it live action?
Yeah.
It's not like
absolutely.
one of those animated movies. So because the Resident Evil, is this the reboot? The actual reboot of the series.
It's the reboot of the series, man. No more silliness. I mean, there might be silliness. I have no idea. But this trailer speaks to fans, man. Like in the first 2 seconds, they show that such iconic moment where you're walking in the Spencer mansion and you see what you don't even know what it is on the floor, kind of you see the back of the zombie, then it slowly turns its head in CGI, right? And it looked incredible, and it was amazing visual, and it was so iconic, and I've seen that 1,000 times, and they almost duplicated that shot for shot in this trailer. And it's just like they are speaking to the fans this time. It's almost like the people who made the movie have played the games.
Yeah. That it definitely looks very on par with the game, which is rare. Usually movies intentionally use the IP and then go a completely different direction. So they have my attention. I'm watching the trailer as we speak, and it looks a lot like Resident Evil 2 and 1 in some ways, 1 and 2 in a lot of ways. So that is great. Yeah, that's great to see. I thought this was going to be another one of those like animated ones, which I don't know. The original Resident Evil movie was kind of a guilty pleasure of mine a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
When I saw it, I was like really disappointed, and then I went back and watched it years later after watching like tons of other shitty movies, and I was like, it wasn't so bad when you compare it to a lot of other things, but it looks pretty good. Is that supposed to be what's his name? Not Ethan. I'm so tied to the Resident Evil 7 now. Is that supposed to be Leon or not?
Yeah.
Or okay, because that looks like Claire.
I mean, it depends who we're talking about here. It's been a while since I've gone back to the original games. seeing Leon
Not,
obviously with the
not
Raccoon
Leon, the
Police
dude from the
Department.
first one. The dude from the first one. I can't think of his name. He's in
Chris
Resident Evil
Redfield?
7 as well. Chris Redfield. Thank you. That's who I was trying to think of. Is that supposed to be Chris Redfield?
Hey man, I don't know. I've watched this a
Kinda
couple
looks like
times
him.
and been like, this looks really exciting. I'm not going to get too deep into the details. I saw things that excited me and made me go,
Oh,
this
shit.
looks like they're going to lean into horror. This makes me think they're going to lean into the video game more. Even
Yeah.
when they show you
Oh,
walking
I
into
see 'em
Spencer
all.
Mansion, when they show you walking into Spencer Mansion, and you see that the red carpet and the stairs going up on both sides. I was like, this is it, man. Like this needed to be here for a proper reboot, and they did it. So that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, I actually see Claire, Leon, and Chris. So that's cool. Oh, he does look like Carlos. You're right. MRI gamer. Cool, man. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see this. Appreciate you bringing this up. Cool. When does
Yeah.
it come out?
Next month, sometime in November. So they missed the October deal, but you know what? As I was telling MRI Gamer yesterday in voice chat, I'm okay with some spooky stuff landing in November. It's almost like we stretch out October into next month, and like it's October part
Yeah.
2. So I'm excited, man. I don't care when it comes out. It looks good, and I hope they take their time and do everything right.
Yeah, sweet. Awesome.
Nice. All right, man. Let's
All
move on
right.
to our next news story. We'll get back into actual video game chat.
Yeah, so moving on, PlayStation London Studio is hiring for a new project, and this actually comes via segmentnext.com, and they're reporting that they say, following a number of job listings in recent weeks, first-party PlayStation London Studio has officially acknowledged a new next-generation project to be in the works exclusively for PlayStation 5. And so they basically did some sifting through the job listings, and they noticed one thing about it, basically saying that they are looking for somebody that can help, and they mention procedural worlds. So something that is being designed with procedurally generated worlds, which sounds very interesting. And they go on to say that, yes, this could be a flat screen game. We don't know yet. But then they mention that, well, there's somebody, we don't know who, that threw out a rumor that had some weight behind it, and that Sony is going to be working on hybrids. So they think that it could be a possible PlayStation VR 2 game or one of these hybrids that we've heard about.
Yeah, I think the important thing to take away from this is that procedural generation means so many different things. Procedural worlds, creating something procedurally doesn't just mean like, oh, there's no handcrafted environments at all. It could mean like, hey, we created this entire world, but there are procedural elements to it, meaning like, oh, the foliage or whatever. Just meaning that developers didn't have to get in there and do all these little minute details. This isn't it's not like they're advertising a new game and saying procedural worlds. They're advertising for people with this kind of experience. So this might not even be like a bullet point on the back of a box or something. This could just be like we're looking for somebody who understands how all of this works. So this could be pretty much anything, really.
Yeah, while you have to take it with a pinch of salt, I think it's still important to remember that Sony London Studio has always had this track record of developing games with new hardware in mind. So they have a long history of this, going all the way back to like Wonder Book and the moves. They've been working on new hardware, making games for new hardware. Obviously they made London Heist or PlayStation VR Worlds, which was I think really, really awesome. And of course Blood and Truth, which was mind-blowingly awesome. And so yeah, it would be great to see them firing up a brand new AAA project, which they have mentioned that they are working on a AAA style project. I mean, it's a first party studio. You wouldn't really expect anything less from them, right?
Yeah, I'd expect at this point they're making there's multiple projects in the works. I can only imagine that most bigger PlayStation studios at this point have many games going on. Dude, I don't want to let this tip get too far away from us. Snacks, please, with a $5 tip says, "Happy Friday, all. Fortunately, we adopted a stray kitty. Unfortunately, I looked away for 1 sec. It bit my PSVR cord as I was buying some in the smoke. Arrgh.
Wow.
So,
Well, congrats on your new cat.
yeah. Woo, cats are awesome. God damn it.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad I have my dog trained. He never chewed any wires or anything, and Never was a problem for me. But it's so heartbreaking to always hear that see somebody that had like, oh, my dog chewed my VR cable. I'm just like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, no, I'm super, super happy that Tornado's been pretty damn good. Like every so often she'll pull out like an HDMI cable or something while I'm trying to stream. But for the most part, everything's been pretty good over here with this cat. And she's laying right next to me, man. She's like, pet me. We also got Kane Mod in the chat. It says, I really need news on Stride soon. Well, dude, you're going to be super happy because I just talked to Joyway the other day, like literally 3 days ago, I think. And I said, hey, what's going on? Are we still on track for a PlayStation VR release of Stride this year? And they said, yes. I said, awesome. Will that include the campaign? And they said, probably not. so it seems like we could be getting the same stripped down early access version at launch on PlayStation VR that they got over
That's
on.
why I thought that's why they delayed it. They said they wanted to include the campaign and stuff. So maybe they're just working on the campaign but yeah, I mean,
there were some control things they wanted to get ironed out. Like they wanted to make sure that they got a lot of feedback from the PC side of things and make sure that all of that was implemented before it came to PlayStation VR. The word I got from them initially was that they wanted to make sure it was a complete game when we finally got it, along with those control implementations. But it seems like the campaign has just kind of gotten a little bit too lofty for them to have it out at launch. But they told me still this year, and so that means like literally within the next 2 months we should have Stride Kane, hopefully. So that would be you should be pretty happy about that. All right, man. Let's move on. We had an awesome, huge update to one of our favorite games of the year. Did you have a chance to check this out? It was Arashi Castles of Sin, the combat update.
Yeah, man. Arashi Castles of Sin has gotten a huge combat overhaul, and it is a biggin. It is the real deal. They've got improvements to Haru. They've got melee combat and sword fighting, different gameplay improvements. That was the only thing on my mind as soon as I got home today was like, I gotta play this because I love this game. I think this game is awesome. And if there was one thing that needed improvement, it was like not even the combat, but the sword fighting more specifically, the sword fighting itself. And Brian, I don't know about you, but I checked it out, and I am happy to report that this kicks ass. It felt like it was forcing me to sword fight, and it was more fine-tuned. The AI was working better. Haru was working better. Everything was working better, and it was just glorious. So sometime this weekend, Brian, I didn't get to see the bosses yet, but sometime this weekend I'm going to do a stream on it and check out the update in depth. And I am super excited about this. I think it's a huge game changer.
Yeah, I don't know if I call it a game changer. I would say that I'm very, very, very happy with the update because I had a list of complaints when I played through the game. Probably one of my biggest complaints was that, and this didn't happen to everybody. This is one of those bugs that I seem to be one of the few people that experienced it. I would sneak up behind somebody and I would go, right, with my sword, and it would go right through them. It wouldn't register whatsoever, and I'd be like,
It's fixed.
It's fixed. It's fixed.
Yes.
I
never had that issue, but I witnessed you having that issue a billion times, and I was like, what planet is he on? What game did they send him?
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Like it seems like if I'm able to experience bugs, then I'm going to experience the bugs, but you can kind of tell that they increased the sensitivity or something along those lines, or they got rid of, when I was talking to the developers, they were saying that it's potentially because I'm using my literal OG PS3 Move controllers, and that they're using functionality in it more than just more than just collision detection, right? It's like, I don't know exactly what it is. I should have looked up in the chat to figure out exactly what it was. But it seems like they disabled something that wasn't really useful anyway. And now, boom, now it's just using collision detection more than anything else. And so all my hits were registering. So sword fighting felt spot on. And it seems a little less parry and attack based, right? It seems a little less block than attack because you can certainly get in on. Reth the cat that sleeps all day says Brian lives on planet Brian. That's pretty accurate. It seems you can get in extra hits now. So you're not just yes, you have to wait and block and then attack. Luckily, those all registered now, which was great. But then on top of that, I felt like I could actually get in a few extra attacks on top of it. And they also don't race right up to you anymore. Like they run up to you, but they
Yeah.
give you like a foot or two to actually work with instead of just being like all up in your shit. So these are all a bunch of little things that added up to being like, ugh, the combat doesn't feel so good. And now it definitely feels
Right.
a whole lot better.
I think it'll help make a better first impression with the game. So, so yeah, it's and there's also a reverse button now. There's a button to back up, which is really nice. Even though that's not as much of a problem in the gameplay as anymore because they tweaked the AI. It's just nice having that backup button. It just feels natural rather than having to like try and point backwards or something.
Yeah.
But I am super impressed with this, and like I said, I cannot wait to jump in and like you said with the sword. Like to me, the biggest thing I've noticed so far is definitely the sword fighting itself, which. You know, if you're sword fighting throughout the half of, or 50%, this game is a stealth mixture, so it's whatever you want to do. But I like just ran out just to test this out. I just ran out, got seen by everybody, and just started taking them head on. And yeah, I mean, even the enemies, the way they move, just feels more. Just like it just feels more polished in the sword fighting, and they were mixing up moves. They were doing different combos. They were throwing all sorts of stuff at me, and I was parrying and countering, and it's just really satisfying. And I definitely noticed that they messed with the rumble a little bit because like it felt really fast. And like it felt like it was fast forwarded before, and now it just feels a little bit more realistic, a little bit more immersive, and just fun. It's just straight up more fun, which is a big deal. But they also did. They also took away the thing where if you try to run to the end of a level, you can't. You have to kill all the enemies first.
That's huge.
They increased the difficulty overall, and this game wasn't too difficult to begin with, but I like that because it's like it makes you kind of, I don't know, it makes you have to kind of earn it. It's not like a Neo level of difficulty, you know what I mean, or Demon Souls level. It's not like this brutal punishing thing, but it's nice and challenging. Man, lots of stuff, lots of good stuff here. I love it, man.
Yeah, being not being able to cheese the level anymore because so frequently when I was playing for review, I was like, let's just see how this works. Or I got tired of just fighting every enemy or trying to sneak past them. I was like, I'm just gonna run, boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna dodge and just kind of like race my way to the exit. And by the end of the level, I had 5 dudes chasing me, and I was like, boom, next level. And it was like, oh, well, that was easy. That's a simple way to take down that shit. You get tired of like actually playing the game, you can just race through it. And it's really nice that they took that away because it just makes way more sense now. It's like you have to complete the challenges. You have to either sneak by them or kill them. It's just so much better. Now, I had way more fun taking down multiple enemies now that the patch is live because when 2 would race up at me at once before, I'd be like, I'm not dealing with this shit. I would just keep
It's too cluttered,
hopping behind me or whatever. But now I felt like I could take down 2 much easier. Dealing with that, it seemed to make more sense. I don't know exactly what they did. Obviously the combat feels better, but just being able to deal with multiple enemies at once felt better. But even better than that was being on top of a roof and then sending Haru out to distract someone. Now if you put her in front of somebody, they go, oh, like they're like, oh my god, why is it there's a wolf here? And then you can just jump down, boom, or you can, I mean, there's just so many different things you can do to distract enemies and get one walking one way, go jump down, take care of another one. And then it felt like these improvements allowed me to strategize more and have a little bit more fun taking down multiple enemies, whether they're coming at me or whether I'm just being stealthy about it.
Yeah, I can't wait to fight the bosses. That's the last thing I have to check out with this. But everything, just the combat itself felt so much more improved, so much more polished. And that's a big deal because quite frankly, I thought this game, aside from the sword fighting itself, I thought this game nailed just about every other thing. I mean, don't sleep on this game, folks. It's really good. It's 6+ hours. It's 6 hours and replayable, I would say. It has fantastic stealth. It has amazing level design. The levels are really gorgeous, and they get better as you go on. So yeah, man, it is time. Everyone who's been waiting, you should absolutely pick this game up now. I give it 2 thumbs up. You have to do it, man.
I give it a thumb and a half. Dan Kiefer says, "Does this change your Arashi score?" Yeah, it was a 7.9 because all those little things again just added up and being like, "Ooh, I don't like combat." Like I did fight a boss, by the way, right before the show, and I only fought one boss. It felt better. I don't think it's. I feel like we're still gonna have the same issue with all the bosses, that they all still feel the same, because I was just like, "Yep, here we go. This is dead." But yeah, it does change my score. I'd be in the low 8s at this point, 8.3, maybe 8.4, something along those lines. I'd have to really consider it and maybe play the patch a little bit more, to be honest with you, Dan. We also got Piotrek F, I probably pronounced that wrong, with 10 snakes on a plane, says, "Really enjoy your podcast. Hype for PSVR 2. Thank you very much. You know, it'd be better if it was Piotrek F, the Gamecat. Just saying."
Thank you, Piotrek. We have fun doing it, man, and it's great when there's lots of stuff to talk about it, isn't there, Brian?
Indeed. And dude, Arashi wasn't the only game today that got a huge update. A game that came out yesterday, Song in the Smoke, got a day 2 update, which was, we really thought this was going to be there at launch. So if anybody experienced some bugs yesterday when first playing it, my apologies go to you. I know 17-bit should be apologizing to you, but I'm going to apologize because I was told these things would be there at launch. Dude, this patch, I don't know if it's version 1.1 or 1.2, whatever the hell they called it. This patch is incredible. Did you get a chance to mess around with it a little bit?
This one, I have not gotten the chance to dive deep into it. I didn't have enough time, unfortunately. But tell me all about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of everything, honestly. Any little thing that bothered you shouldn't bother you anymore. The first thing that comes to mind is the mortar and pellet. No, remind me what it's called.
Mortar and pestle.
Pestle. I was thinking of billet, right? The pestle. So you grab your little pestle. You grab your little stone bowl and you throw an herb into it, and then you take your pestle and you mash it up. Now, when I was first playing it, I would try to actually grab the pestle out from the side of the bowl, and because of weird collision detection shit, it would knock the herb out of the bowl. It would go flying. And I'd be like, go running after it. Please, I don't want to lose it. I need this right now. Right? And I learned over time, if I grab it from a foot away, that it wouldn't do that anymore. But of course, now with this new patch, you can actually grab it and they actually remove collision detection for 2 seconds just to make sure that you will not knock that shit out of the bowl. It's little things like that where it just feels more refined and everything just feels better. I mean, it's stupid little visual improvements too. Like when you open up your inventory, you know how it looks like it's on a big cloak, because it's your cloak,
right?
That cloak is now cloth. If all the items fall down onto it, and then the edges of it almost falls like a tablecloth over the corners, where it's just nice. Little visual improvements like that, and little physics improvements and collision detection improvements, and everything just feels more refined. So I'm feeling more and more confident that my 10 out of 10 score is absolutely, man. If you experience a little bug or a little glitch here or there, I'm guessing those things no longer exist because everything just feels better now.
Well, that is awesome. I can't wait to check that out more. I have a lot more to play in this game. And speaking of which, Brian, it is time to have a little discussion about Song in the Smoke.
Yeah, it is. Dude,
I'm looking forward to checking out that update.
so happy we finally get to talk about this. Dude.
Woo!
Oh, man. One of those games where you jump in and you're just like, I have no idea what to expect. We've seen trailers, and the developer talks big about it and says, "Oh, this I'm so excited! I can't wait for people to play our game. I can't stop playing the game." Jake Kasdal from 17-bit, so excited. Everybody seems to love that interview, but we were like, "Is he full of shit?" Let's find out. And there's just so much to like about this game. So after I talk to Red Rover, the effing Gamecat, about his $20 tip, who says, "I've been out of the loop for a while since before Star Wars Squadrons, finally getting back up again. Should Song in the Smoke be my first game purchase back in? I asked because the stream title mentions Game of the Year."
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of what happened since Squadrons.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can skip everything else. Yeah. Although AJ just said not to sleep on Arashi, so maybe you should consider that one too.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah. But yeah,
good to have you back, Red Rover.
I would say if you want an amazing VRAF experience, This is an amazing way to start. So let's tackle this the way we always tackle new games, AJ. What do you love about Song the Smoke? This is gonna be a 14-hour conversation.
Everything. Okay, let me be real here. This will be a little bit different. I loved my experience of my first playthrough of it entirely, and it was so mind-blowing going through this game. And we were calling each other and we were like, hey, what do you do here? What is this? And like, that rarely happens, because a lot of the times VR games can be kind of shallow or short. And this was like a week-long thing of staying up till 5 a.m. This is the kind of shit that, like, I'm a gamer for reasons like this. I haven't had a game that made me stay up till 5 a.m. playing it in a long time, and this is what I live for, man. I'm gonna kick things off and just say, God, where do I even start, Brian? Where do I start with this? Can you help me out here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, let's start with the basics, man. Like audio visual, right? That's super basic way to start.
So this game looks great, and it is so much bigger than what I was expecting. This game, it's not like a traditional kind of open world. It's more like huge open areas, and it feels like an open world. It doesn't really have a lot of loading screens, or when you're in a level, there's nothing dividing that level up. It's got some exploration in it. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I love the art style. They did a video on the artist who worked on the game, and the game starts off and it's like this giant two-headed crow in your face, and you're like, okay, that's cool, like, I like the tone they're setting here. And then it lifts up and it's got this like creepy face on it, and I was like, okay, that's the greatest thing I've seen in a long time. I miss games that have a creativity, that have a unique, just true to themselves art style, and can be a little weird sometimes. And this game has some of those. Some of the art style is like a mix of like some fantastical elements, which makes it exciting. Because if it was just a pure, and you're in the woods and it's hyper realistic and it's just survival, it can take away the game from it. And so I feel like the visual style of this really has that gamified element to it, which I really love.
Yeah, no, I love the art style. I think it's beautiful, and I especially love how when everything comes together perfectly, when you've got the sun, coming up over the horizon, and this draw distance that seems to go on you can see like half the level or the entire level depending on the time of day or if there's fog or not, and it's just everything, flock of birds flying overhead, waterfalls, the sun. It's just like, wow, this is a beautiful game. Would I like a very realistic survival game, like one that actually looks like I'm in the forest at some point? Absolutely. But this, I feel like, suits the mood and suits the tone of the game very, very well, because it does feel a little bit fantastical, especially considering that the animals that you're running into they're not like, it's not just here's a deer, it's a grazer, and it's not, here's whatever, it's like,
not a raptor, it's a
right, it's
a screecher.
Yeah. And so it's almost prehistoric, right? But it's also like this level of fantasy that goes along with it. And so I just like the world that they created here. Now above and beyond anything else, man, I think it's this, my review, I think your impressions, your everything. I think whenever anybody talks about this game, the thing they're going to talk about the most is the sense of discovery, which is why I kind of like, which is why I was like, we're going to do a tips video because people are going to need one. We're going to have to do a review because people are going to want to know what we think and whether they should buy it. We're going to have to talk about this on GAMESCAST because we're so excited about it and it's potentially our game of the year. But man, it's like, I don't want to say a word. I want everyone to kind of go in blind the same way that we went in and be like, how do you do this? And how do you build that? And what the hell? And then when you figure those things out, you feel like the man. You're like, I'm fucking the king of the jungle right now. I remember texting you at one point. I was like, I own this fucking jungle, right? So I just learned it took me 5 hours to learn to build, learn how to make clothes. because I was just
Yeah.
because I we don't have anybody like helping us along or guiding us or let's plays to watch or anything along those lines. And so
No.
I was like, I didn't even see that in the menu, right? And so I saw that my character was naked and that there was ways to put clothes on him or her, and I just didn't know how to do that. It took me 5 hours, and then once I did that, I stayed in the same area. I stayed in the hunting grounds and then like the valley for an extraordinary amount of time. And so I stayed in those early areas a very, very long time to level up, and then realizing there's this whole other mechanic that I've been ignoring. And now when I equip clothes on my character, I realize that I'm more resistant to the cold. I've got more damage resistance. I'm better at stealth, right? And these are the three main attributes for clothes. And I was like, oh my God, I already thought I was doing pretty good, and now I'm like covered in clothing that improves all my attributes. I'm like, it just made me feel really incredible. Like I really, really was like this. It made me feel powerful. Like I was owning the game, and that very quickly turned around after I moved a couple areas.
Yeah, I love a lot of games in the past that are that can be like brutal, difficult, or like dating back to all the way. I've always loved those games that kind of drop you in the game and they don't explain anything and they're just like, fuck you, like figure it out.
Totally.
And this game does not totally do that, luckily, which I think is good because it makes it more accessible to more people. It's not something you have to worry about being like insanely hard, but it is a challenge to kind of figure it out, how to do certain things. And that fulfillment of figuring those things out is wonderful. And the sense of discovery, like you mentioned, I mean, there's a depth to that statement on this game because it's part of there's a discovery to the world, to yourself, your abilities, to the gameplay, to the next thing I would love to talk about when we talked about what makes a game a 10 out of 10, to me I said a game that kind of like revolutionizes something or does something better than anyone else. And to me, this game, I love survival, and I think this game does lots of survival. One of the things that complements that so well is the crafting in this game. This game, I think, has the deepest, most interactive crafting system that we've seen in quite a long time. I think it was Dan Kiefer that was asking what survival games have you played besides Saints and Sinners. The Solus Project. The Solus Project was an amazing survival game that you had to drink water, eat food, survive the cold, survive the heat, things like that. But it didn't have this. You would pick up stuff and you'd press a button. This game, you physically craft everything together, and talk about Saints and Sinners as well. In Saints and Sinners, you gather all the resources, but then you typically go to a menu and you press something. There's not a lot of games that I can say do something better than Saints and Sinners, and this does crafting better than Saints and Sinners, and I mean that in the biggest forms of compliments to both sides here.
Yes.
Because we all know how I feel about Saints and Sinners, and the fact that there's kind of a new game on the scene that has managed to do something in a specific area better is a huge deal.
Yeah, it's I don't think we could go all throughout history and say that Song and the Smoke is the best survival game ever made. I've played a ton of survival games on the flat screen that probably rival this, right? As far as just gameplay mechanics and the progression systems and the depth of the maps and how far you can take things. But we're generally talking about games in a bubble here. We're generally talking about VR games. And so we haven't had a ton of survival games. I would consider No Man's Sky a survival game. Obviously Saints and Sinners is one. It feels like to a lesser extent. And this obviously is one in the Solus Project. And I'm not sure if I can think of too many other ones. I don't think we'd call Island Time a survival game, in all fairness.
I mean, it is, but it's...
Right.
They're different types of survival. This is surviving in the wilderness. Solus Project was surviving on an alien planet. Saints and Sinners is surviving the zombie apocalypse. So it's different forms of survival, I would say, that do impact the game and change it up significantly.
Right. And so when we're talking about this, I like to talk about it in the sense of PSVR because that's what this channel is all about, and that's the games that we play more than anything else. So in my book, absolutely. I think it does crafting better than any other PSVR game we've played, and mostly because it's VRAF. You know, when you're able to actually take out a stick and take out a knife and go,
Yeah.
and you get immediate gratification because not only are you fashioning that into the shape of an arrow, but you're also getting the bark bindings that you need to create
Right.
things later and kind of glue things together, you know, and then to pound the rock with the billet to make an arrowhead, and putting these all together, and then killing a screecher and putting the feather on, like to make, you know, and then just on top of it all, man, it's like later on in the game as you progress, you know, you're finding better rocks and better sticks, and you can look at the stats on these things to create better arrows. Like it's not just like, oh, I can only make arrows for my bow and arrow. It's like, yeah, but you can make better arrows as you progress, and it's like start stocking up on that shit, right? So there's
Right.
like, I don't know, like the I think maybe there's a level here compared to Saints and Sinners where I'm like, man, I wish that maybe I had a little more weapon variety potentially, because it's like I've got this fucking awesome club and I can upgrade it. I've got this fucking awesome bow and arrow and I can upgrade it. But those are the
They do change
essential
slightly.
weapons.
There's a little bit more than that. Again, I don't want to give anything away.
Right.
There's a little bit more variation to that, and that's kind of what they did. Was they took something and they added a little bit of depth to it. And yeah, there's a lot of secrets in this game too. So it really rewards you for exploration, which is like one of my favorite things ever. That is probably, I mean, that has always been the thing that has kept me going in a lot of games. I mean, that's why I love No Man's Sky so much, is the exploration. And this game does a great job of, you know, you see these, it's like, how many games have we seen in the past? But in this game, you see this tiny little opening, this tiny little space in the level, and you're like, I wonder if there's something, and you go there, and then suddenly it's leading you down this whole entire path with some rewards at the end of it. It's like, boom, found it. And I love that. So there's depth to the game in many layers. It's not just the crafting. There's exploration. There's the survival, what we talked about. What do you think of the survival that's in there?
I'm very, very thankful that this game doesn't seem as brutal when it comes to some of the survival elements. Yes, you're gonna die a lot your first time through, but it also feels super fair, right? So you've got your health meter, and if you're poisoned or if you're freezing cold or if you're hungry, and those meters max out, and it's like, okay, your body can't handle this anymore. Now it's going to start affecting your health. Then you've still got some time. You've still got some time to deal with that. And I've played so many survival games where you have to eat every 4 seconds, and I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like
Yeah.
let's. I know this is a video game, but like, A, let's make it fun, and B, let's make it fair.
Right.
Like, let's make this like a little tiny little bit realistic, where I don't have to eat every fucking 5 seconds. Absolutely ridiculous. And so I definitely I think it's the survival elements are really well balanced, I think, right? So that if you're diving in, you're gonna be like, oh, this is way more fun. Now, I do have to say, if you bought this yesterday and you haven't played the patch yet, it's harder now. It's actually harder now, because one of the things one of the things I love to do was kind of cheese the night, right? Where it's like, I'm just gonna harvest some organs or something to make the time go by faster in the middle of the night.
Right.
Dude, this didn't happen to me at all previously, but on your little tribal watch, if you're cold or if you're hungry or anything like that, those levels start skyrocketing when you speed up time to harvest, and your health will start going
Yeah.
like it is. So it's actually harder today than it was yesterday, and so you do have to keep an eye on these things and keep an eye on all your stats. But again,
You don't want any exploits in the game. You don't want a way to exploit the game. That takes the fun out of it.
absolutely
And
not.
yeah. Now, for me, the one difference between Solus Project and this, which I think, again, the survival, I think, is also one of the best in this game. The one thing I liked about Solus Project was you had to drink water as well and stay hydrated. But this has, I like the form of, you know, the ways of making yourself warmer and things like that. But, you know, the survival elements are great. It keeps you it creates this awesome game loop. I think Braxbro was asking, it has depth, but is it fun depth? Yes. The game loop in this game is super addicting. You can like I watched some of your stream back, Brian, and you were saying like how there was one part where you weren't progressing in the game, but you were still just having so much fun
Yeah.
because the game loop. That's what happened to me with Saints and Sinners and this game, which was like I knew. I was like, I really wanted to get through the level, but I was like, but it'll be so much more fun and rewarding if I actually camp here for the night, one more night, or go collect some things, go on a short little trip and come right back and then decide to sleep. So there's this thing about survival games that I absolutely love, and I've said this a couple times now, but this game is true to it, which is when you're not physically doing something for the game, physically playing some gameplay element that it has added, you have to be thinking about your next move or thinking about what the next best move or decision is to make and which one and how it's going to benefit you.
Yeah. Now that the new patch is in, I jumped in to just play before the show, just to make sure that I had some idea of what the patches were all about, and immediately I was hooked again. I think I'd said, I don't know where I said it, but I did say it somewhere that you and I were under the impression that this game was way shorter than it was. You and I were playing through, and then we were like, oh, okay, well, I'm on the last area. And I don't know, like, I think we got that impression from Jake's interview, and it turns out that wasn't the last area. And we were like, oh, well, this must be the last area. And we go to the next area, and we're like, this must be the last area. And so we got to the point where, like, I'd spent 6-7 hours on each area initially, right? The first 3 maps I spent forever on, just like making sure I made
6 or 7 hours.
I mean, maybe, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely spent hours on each one.
Not in the tutorial. I know you blasted through, man. Like when you told me like where you were and you had caught up to me, I was like, this is incredible. Like I'm really curious
You're
to hear.
crazy, man. I kept telling Brian he was crazy because he was like, I'm going out every single night. I'm like, that's the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing.
There are benefits to going out at night, and so even though it's scary to go out at night, you know me, man. I'm all about level progression, or I'm all about permanent stat upgrades.
Right.
And so when going out at night is one of the few ways for permanent stat upgrades, I'm all about it, man. I'm like, give me a fucking torch. We're heading out. We're doing this, right? And of course,
I go for the attack, not the defensive upgrades. I've always just I run around like a glass cannon in most games because you can kill something fast enough before it kills you. Usually you're in good shape. But if you have no attack power and you have lots of defense, then it just takes you longer to die, and you're not doing any damage to any enemies. It's just classic game thing I do.
That's great, and I'm happy that you do that. But dude, again, when I spent so long on each map, I was doing both. I was making sure that I had the best arrows. I was making sure that I had upgraded all of my weapons to the point where I felt powerful. And then I'm like, I'm going out at night now, and before I leave this map, I'm going to find all of those upgrades. And so it was both. Dude, we have so many tips to take care of. Do you mind if we hit pause for a second and get through these?
Go ahead.
We got Nihilist Ryan, the Game Feline, with the $5 tip, says, tip in the chat with a heart. A heart right back to you, Nihilist Ryan.
Nihilist Ryan, the Game Feline. Thank you.
We also got Peter Cordoba with the $5 tip, says 170 people watching and only 66 likes. Friendly reminder, minimize the video and like the video. Minimize the video and like the video. Thanks for the hard work, guys. Okay, back to Song and the Shrimp. Never ends.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Peter. We also got Mad Max, the Underground VR Gamecat, still on parole, with the $5 tip, says, guys, I love it and own it on all the platforms. Wow. Cool. That's cool. If this was PSVR Sunset, I would be happy with it. Anytime I died, it was my fault. I love this game. I felt the same way.
It's true.
I didn't die at all on yesterday's live stream, but I certainly died quite a few times while reviewing this game.
I heard about that, by the way. I was, there was a big boar, and I was going up to the boar, and I was like, yeah, I'll just bash him with the club, shoot him with some arrows, it'll be all right. And I was just standing next to him, and it just turns to the left, and goes, and like gores me like right through the stomach, and I just died, and I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I forgot this game has... it'll punish you if you mess around too much.
Yeah, yeah, big time, man. There was one time I turned around and there was a lion right in my face. I was like, I didn't even hear you. Like I've got the sound, not
Oh
on
my
stream,
god,
but
dude.
yeah, when I was because I'm like, oh man, I wish this game was scarier because you know me, I want everything to be scary. And then one time it scared the living fuck out of me. I was like, Jesus. I was like,
There
okay,
was a
it's
jump.
scary.
Yeah, I did get jump scared a little bit. I don't remember what it was, but I did turn around and something was like right in my face. And
Yeah, it was like
usually, I mean,
hunting
the
me.
3D audio and the audio design in this game is
Yeah,
fantastic. And usually, if there's an enemy getting closer, it starts playing this like ominous music. And one of the things that if you basically part of the game loop is. And part of the progression is you're trying to find these song stones. It teaches you that in the tutorial, and whenever you're near one, you hear this yeah, like this like tribal chanting kind of music.
yeah.
It's actually really nice though.
It is, and it certainly helps you find your way around a little bit. Yeah, and especially near the beginning of the game, you're not very powerful, and you're gonna want to be crouched in the crouch position. And when that happens, the game kind of desaturates, the color desaturates, and it highlights like paw prints or animal tracks in the ground. And so if you're hunting
Yeah, the
something,
tracking.
right, or if you shot one arrow at something, then it'll be bleeding, and you can follow the blood
Right.
paths all the way to eventually find the animal that you're hunting. I think it's an underrated gameplay mechanic, and I think it's underrated because I don't think you need it after a certain point. After a couple hours into the game, I don't think you really need it that much anymore. But it is good because I think it heightens the audio, and then you can start hearing where things are around you. So if you are in big trouble, if you've got some health, if you're low on health and you're trying to make your way back to camp, then you might want to do that every so often to make sure something's not tracking you.
Yeah, I mean, now that we're talking about everything, like there's so much more. I could keep going on, and yeah, this is something really special. I mean, um, oh man, we didn't even get to like some of the combat and the fighting and some of taking down some of the animals.
Yeah.
And like you said, but you did mention the tracking. Like when you have these hunts you go on at some point in the game, or if you're hunting an animal down to try and harvest and get like resources from it. Yeah, that is super cool. Like you said, the tracking and the blood trail. That is a really cool mechanic, and the stealth in the game can be pretty cool as well. And that's just another element to this game, and it lets you kind of. One thing I loved about your review is when you said, like, the story that's in this game is kind of your story, and the way you experience this game is it gives you a lot of freedom, and there's lots of different play styles, all these sorts of things. So you end up feeling like you had your own story of survival and just overcoming these conditions and going on this journey. It's a very like it's got this hybrid caveman Tarzan spiritual kind of hybrid setting and story that is just so cool, and it works so well together.
Dude, I'm so happy that this game does not bog you down with cutscenes. I'm so happy.
Right.
It happens. There's occasional cutscenes, and it's kind of nice to get a quick little break, and a little rewarding. And it's actually giving you some tips on how to proceed during those cutscenes. But I don't. But you go for hours and hours and hours frequently without seeing a single one. And then when you do see one, it's 20 seconds long at most. The
Right.
story in this game is the story of your journey.
Like
And
story through gameplay.
absolutely, absolutely, and it's like you just I've got all of these different memories of, and it's all about discovery, and it's all about how you decided to survive, and whether you decided to be cautious or you decided to be aggressive and just run out and just try to take control of the jungle, and whether you're successful or unsuccessful. Like this is a better story in my book than a lot of games that have actual constructed told stories that are just like spoon fed to you. I have better memories of this game and again, there's no real story that's being told to you, and I love the story in this game. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically just go hunt some stuff and survive, and and then well, there actually is a story. Once you complete it, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. But it's like a generic kind of game story. But like you said, the experience is what it's all about. That's way more important than the story, and it has the gameplay and the depth. It's not a story driven game. It's a gameplay driven game, which is just totally fine by me.
Yeah.
So there was a couple other tips.
We got 3 more tips here. We got Hugh Guyver with the Australian $3 says, I can't wait to try Song in the Smoke, PSVR without Parole. I think those are
fire.
Oh, those
Pizza,
are fires.
money bag.
You should see what these things look like when I copy them into a notepad document. Thank you so much, Hugh. We also get Donatello, the Scientist Gamecat. By the way, how's that Puzzle Bobble review challenge coming, my friend? That's right. $5 tip says, I love watching AJ's and Brian's live streams of Song in the Smoke, but you really have to experience this one in the headset. I really felt like I was in this world. Donnie, I'm with you on that 100%, and I think that, honestly, the only reason I wanted to stream it was because there were a lot of people who just didn't know what to think of this game, and that they were unconvinced that they should try it. I think the preferred way to play this game is to not watch a review and to not watch a tips guide, and not watch our live streams. Literally, just go buy the game and play it. Like it was an amazing time seeing everything for myself for the first time in the headset, and I hope that most people out there get to do the same thing.
Well, the good thing is, like, from the trailer, you kind of see a little bit of the game, and the good thing is they don't show you the rest, the depth, the actual depth that the game has, or the actual quality that the game has. So they were smart because that's one of the reasons I thought the game was going to be a lot smaller than it actually is, because they did a good job of kind of hiding, a lot more stuff in the game.
It's also 7 megabytes. 7 megabytes. This game is
7 megabytes.
7. I'm kidding. It's what is it, like 4 gig or something like that? But
I thought it was like, I think it's like 2 gig download or something.
It's like ridiculously small. It's like the smallest, one of the smallest PSVR games I've ever downloaded, and the game is huge. Like they really know their shit over there.
Yeah, but I agree with Donatello, what he's saying. When it comes to VR, we love immersion, and this game is super immersive. I mean, you feel like you're living. I've been loving Endeavor once. Their comments, they're just like me for the past couple days. Just feel like a caveman. Like, and I agree. Like this world in this game, you can get lost and immersed in for so long, and it doesn't even matter if you make progress or not. Like, you're gonna feel like you just want to live out there and survive.
Yeah,
you feel like you're there.
I did. I wanted to live out there. I wanted to exist in that world, and I did for 30 hours, man. I know I spent way more time in this game than you did. You beat it far faster than I did. But man, like it took me 30 hours to beat this game, and I
only did because of review. If I didn't have to play it for review, which I'm going to go back even. That's the beauty of it as well, is like it is fun to keep playing and keep going and discover everything you want. There's a platinum trophy in it, and
the platinum. Need the platinum. Yes. I'm not that far away from it, honestly.
Yeah, and the platinum, you beat the game and you basically complete each area, and that's about it. It's not doesn't seem like it's too hard to obtain. You could probably get 38. I'd say it's about a 30 hours to platinum kind of game.
I mean, more. I'm certain. I've probably got another 10 hours that I need to put into this game. Honestly, I like looking back and seeing like how I just blasted through the last 3 stages completely. Like, you should see my map on the last 3 areas. My map, which by the way is great, you just pull it out like Saints and Sinners. They moved it down a little bit because I kept grabbing up here and I couldn't grab it when I was running around. And now with the patch, it's further down, and so you look down and you can actually see it a little bit easier. It's a better placement. Dude, I wish I could remember all the different things that they did in the patches, because the patch is just incredible. But anyway, yeah, so I got to go back and like really, really explore the last 3 areas, because I literally ran from one stone to another stone to another stone, killed the boss, moved out. I was like, all right, let's go. We got Alberto Mapome, the game Gato, with the 50 Mexican pesos. Says, we need a full AJ tribal chant singing number. Hashtag hire AJ.
Hire AJ. Hashtag hire AJ.
It's got to be somebody out there. Somebody out there has to be offended.
I think I know.
Sure. Yeah.
Honestly.
Yep. We also get Genetic Blasphemy, the reverse engineered game cat with the $5 tip. Says, my 2 biggest qualms: lack of proper sprinting. Okay. Well, hold on. Let's take this one at a time. I say maybe he's on something. Say maybe a double tap on the move could, there's no stamina meter, man. I think this is the trade-off. Yeah. There's no stamina meter. So I don't really know how you implement that.
A sprint with a stamina bar that drains. Yeah, it wouldn't be bad, because the thing is, so I could talk about and just go over like everything I love about this game, which is basically everything.
Right.
But when we do a review, we do have to be kind of critical sometimes, and I don't know if you wanted to address some of the little tiny negatives that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just the other half of this tip though.
Right.
He's got 3 complaints. So the lack of proper sprinting, super short days. By the way, addressed in patch 1. The days are longer now.
The days are longer.
So
for sure.
You're all set there. Also, your third complaint: the bow angle is all wrong.
I don't know about that.
Check. I mean, it feels weird. It's in your hand, and it's not quite exactly the way it would be in your hand. Now, check in the options now, because I checked in the options, and it does seem like there are angle options for both weapons. Double check that for me, but I'm pretty sure they addressed that in today's patch as well. So 2 out of 3, not too bad, right? Not bad for day 1.
Yeah.
So yeah, what complaints do you have?
They're more like personal preferences. There's the jumping. I'm so torn on this. I was really torn on this at first, and you mentioned this in your review. Is that the jumping and the climbing is more like a teleport style thing, and to me, it's like I love what they did because it's easy, it's accessible, it doesn't wear you out. If you're exhausted from a long day of work, it's like you're not going to get tired from going and climbing. That being said, I would have liked maybe an option to be able to grab ledges and climb up. I would have liked the option to maybe a hardcore survival mode or like a hardcore mode where you accidentally walk off the side of a cliff and die if you accidentally do that. But I understand, but I never dinged it as a negative to the game.
Same.
Because of how smooth the game plays and how smooth it is, how non-frustrating that could, with how many mountains and things you can climb up in that game, that could introduce a lot of issues that could be really problematic. So definitely more of a personal preference. I still hope to see if that's even possible in the future in an update. But not a big deal. And that's one of my very few. One of the other few was that there were some bugs and whatnot that I experienced.
Which should all be taken care of today, right?
Which seems like they've all been addressed from what I can tell. So that's out of the, that's not a problem anymore. But even with the jumping and climbing mechanic, I wouldn't mind, it has this long line that comes out of it, and I'm just all about as many immersive things as possible. So I would love to be able to, Sirento was one of the first games I can remember playing, VR games, that when you jumped, it had this line that pointed, and then they eventually added it where it was just a dot, and that dot was so much better because it wasn't this huge immersion breaking thing that popped up. So it's more like a little nitpick kind of thing. Like I said, maybe not. It's not necessarily a negative, as this could be better in the future with some updates. Getting rid of the turning off the tips that pop up, turning off the lines and the jumping and the big colorful green stuff, and just kind of trimming that down.
I'm gonna say when I was playing today, I didn't see nearly as many tips in the later levels so I do think that might have been addressed as well. There were also tips that I hadn't seen before. I was getting sleepy, and a tip said, "Hey, you right there in the world said, hey, you're getting sleepy. Maybe you should take a nap or something like that." And I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, you've never just put that message up in the world before for me." So I do think that some of this has already been addressed. I do think that maybe it's contextual now a little bit more. Hey, if you are bleeding out, maybe it's going to tell you, fucking take care of that shit,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Donatello, he says the blue grid needs to have an option to turn it off.
Yes.
Amen. That
Absolutely.
blue grid, it should be the number one priority to have a button or something to get rid of that. Now, it's not it's not as bad as Hitman 3 was.
Oh God.
When Hitman 3 came out, because that thing, that used the DualShock, so at least the moves track better than the DualShock. But yeah, it's the grid always pops up when I'm still in my play space, when I'm still getting perfectly fine tracking. So it's way too aggressive. That needs to be removed because it's just unnecessary. And and it's just annoying. But yeah, as far as my complaints goes, those are pretty much the only few that I can think of. That the grid is the big one here. The other stuff is more of like a personal preference that would be really cool.
Yeah, I'll go to bat for the grid for sure because, yeah, it's silly. Like it pops up infrequently, but when it does, it's silly. Like it kills the immersion when it does, and there should always be an option to be able to turn those things off. We did have a comment from Roy Schwartz. What's up, Roy? He says, "Is this game going to have a physical release?" As far as we know, nothing is in the works or nothing's been announced, nothing's planned. But the way this game has been received, I bet like Perp would be crazy for not trying to pick it up on PlayStation VR, but we'll see. This thing's been getting really good reviews all over the place, so maybe even a bigger publisher would pick it up. We'll see what happens. We'll keep you posted.
Yeah. So, Brian.
Yeah.
You gave this game a 10 out of 10.
I did.
And I agree with you. I think this is the type of game that maybe not everybody will be talking about and the mainstream won't have any focus on. But this is the kind of game that we jump up and down and say, you need this game. This is a game for real gamers that love deep and full experiences. The game is 15 plus hours. I did eventually find my hours in the game, and it took me about 15 hours to beat it.
Wow.
And right now I'm at about 21, and I'm going to have probably 30 to 35 when I finish this game. But yeah, I will totally defend that with you. Is every single little nook and cranny perfect? No. But it's close, and it does things. It excels at things beyond what several other games do, and to me, that is special. I think other developers need to start taking notes about the crafting in this game and how well the crafting system was done. And some of these games coming up, where I'm going to be paying attention to them for when they have crafting elements. Is it going to be you just click here and click here on a menu, or is it going to be no, I have to actually stick this stuff onto my weapons and whatnot? Because that's something I want to see moving forward.
Yeah, dude, we're playing games in VR. The more immersion you can implement into your games, the more it feels like you're actually interacting with these items. It's one of the things I really don't like about No Man's Sky is just dragging and dropping things in menus. I feel like that's what I'm doing for most of the time I'm there because I don't understand No Man's Sky yet. So I'm constantly like, oh, am I supposed to be doing this? I'm sure you guys know how to do it, so it's like ding, 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 ding. But at the same time, it's like, man, let me get these things in my hands and actually maneuver them and do some actual crafting, man. It feels that this is the reason we play VR games is for immersion. And I think the immersion in this game is incredible.
Yeah. Between the world and the crafting and the systems, it is absolutely incredible. It is so good. You have to go pick this game up. And for $30, they undercharged for this game. Guys,
I think they did.
Go buy this game right now because they undercharged for this game severely. It's at least a $40 game. I think it was a smart decision because I think more people will buy it at $30. But this game is worth more than $30 easily. Yeah. It's like it is on par with a lot of flat screen games in terms of its content and length and depth.
Yeah. I 100% agree. So let's answer the question, AJ.
Yes.
The question we posed in the thumbnail in the video.
And title. That wasn't an answer to the question. That was agreeing with you that let's answer the question.
Yeah. Oh. Is Song in the Smoke our game of the year?
Oh, I'll tell you what, man. There have been some awesome games this year. And honestly, since Hitman 3, there's been some games that have come out that have gotten close. Arashi Castles of Sin actually is one of them. Blair Witch was a nice surprise. Mm-hmm. And but to me, the difference between that separates Song in the Smoke and Hitman 3 is the VRness, the immersiveness. And I feel like the same argument that I make for Saints and Sinners being above Resident Evil 7, even though Resident Evil 7 could be a better game, I feel like when it's built for VR, when it shows you what VR is capable of, it it gets a little bit of an edge. And I feel like that's kind of the same case here, where I might think that Hitman 3 could be a slightly better game in some way, in many ways, but or in whatever way. But this is built for VR. This is super immersive. This has all these immersive features, and so I think I have to give at this very second. I'm gonna say yes, Brian. Absolutely, my game of the year so far. But I will say I want to play more of this Arashi update and see how that affects the entire game. Because it's right now for me, the game of the year is between Hitman 3, Song in the Smoke, and Arashi. But I'm gonna give it to Song in the Smoke as of right now.
Yeah, I don't. I honestly don't. There's no contest for me whatsoever. As much as I loved Hitman, it is funny. Like, I don't mind not having move support in Resident Evil 7. Would I like it? Of course I would. But Resident Evil 7, I was like, God, this game plays amazingly. I think the head tracking was fantastic. Everything just feels really good. Especially, I mean, I just absolutely love that game. You guys know that. But then Hitman didn't feel that good to me as far as tracking the dual shock and being like, I'm holding a shotgun and this is how I'm going to fire at somebody, like, right? And so Hitman, it is because of the lack of move support that Hitman is sort of out of the running for me when it's compared to something like Song in the Smoke.
No
that
way.
feels like
Hitman is still like a top 3, top 5 game for me personally. My experience with that was amazing.
Yeah, top 3, top 5, fantastic, but not game of the year because
Hitman
of
3
these.
is my Resident Evil 7 to you almost.
Okay, but
it's got some of that flat screen jank though.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I mean, and we had plenty of other great games this year too, right? Squadrons came out this year, man. Like, I mean, we've had so many great games this year that, so I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to discount all those games and say, man, there's nothing there. I'm just trying. I am absolutely calling Song in the Smoke my game of the year, with the knowledge that all these other games came out that I gave 9s pluses to, so I gave a ton of games not over a 9.0 this year, but nothing really compares to Song in the Smoke. I think even the PSVR patch for Dreams came out this year too, right? And I'm still
this year. No,
the patch for the Dreams patch, PSVR patch. No, was that last year?
Yeah, it was last year.
Dude, it's fucking COVID, man. It's like every day, every year runs together at this point.
Scared me for a second. I'm like, wait.
Yeah,
we're losing him. Come back.
So, but yeah, no. I mean, this so frequently when I do this job, and so frequently when I review games, it feels like a job. It feels like, man, I got to do this. I got to play this game. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Right. Song in the Smoke was the first game in a very long time that came along that said I'd be playing this much of it this frequently, even if without Parole wasn't a thing. I would be playing the crap out of this game, and I would be just as addicted. I'd be playing it just as much. I'd probably be enjoying it even more if I didn't have to review it. And that's in games like this don't come along very often. And so for me, it's no question about it, game of the year.
Yeah, I haven't had an experience like this in a long time. I did have an amazing experience with Hitman 3 as well. With Fracked, I love Fracked, but it's too short and it has no staying power whatsoever. This game has staying power. This game has quality, and just every nook and cranny it pretty much excels. Not just nails, but excels at. So that's the kind of shit we like to see. And yeah, I think this is very well deserving of game of the year so far as of right now.
And with all that out of the way, AJ, I think it's time to break this losing streak. It's time to play a little bit PSVR 20 questions. AJ's the host this week. He's got a PSVR game in mind, and that means I've got 20 questions along with the chat who's going to help me out. You better help me out because I'm in big trouble. I'm trying to break this losing streak. 20 yes or no questions to figure out what game he's thinking of. AJ, do you have a game picked out?
I do have a game picked out, but I must say, Brax Bro says, AJ, what about Synth Riders? The metal. I will tell you right now, if Synth Riders had multiplayer at this moment, it would be a contender. Now, I wouldn't say it would maybe win, but if it launched with the multiplayer, it would absolutely be a contender for Game of the Year for me. It's that good, yes. And I still love that game. A new. I'm gonna start singing Synth Rider songs. I love the music in that game.
What are you doing? Tornado's on my paper. I need to take this piece of paper. I need to take notes for this game. Sorry, bud. Oh, you are just taking up all my space. All right. Here we go. I'm putting 6 minutes up on the clock. The clock up on the counter. I don't know. It's the way that Jeremy likes it, I guess. Are you ready?
No, I'm going to be using a lot of the game page as well for this. So hopefully it is accurate, and if it's inaccurate, then it is the PlayStation website's fault, not mine.
You are not instilling me with a ton of faith that you have any idea what you're talking about. All right, here we go. 6 minutes on the clock. Let's do this. Is it a horror game?
No. It might have some small horror elements, but it is not a horror game whatsoever.
All right. Small horror,
Very
maybe.
small horror elements, but not a horror game. No.
All right. Does it only use the moves?
It does only use the moves.
Wow.
According to PlayStation Store.
I don't know how I feel about this. That was a risky question, man. That was a risky question. Does it also have a flat screen version?
It does not have a flat screen version.
Okay.
Is that 3?
That's 3. It's your job to keep count.
It's hard to remember.
God. Let's see here. Has this developer made more than one PlayStation VR game?
They have not made more than one PlayStation VR game.
Ruh-roh, we're in big trouble. Okay. Does it have full locomotion?
It does not have full locomotion.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Jeremy, the NES rookie. Is it based on an IP, an existing IP?
I would say no.
Would say no.
Though it has some references. It has some references, some Easter eggs and stuff, but no, it is not based on an existing IP, no.
Interesting. Very interesting. References.
Yeah, I would say no, though, overall. It's its own game.
Are there vehicles in this game? Good job, all yours history.
There are no vehicles in this game.
Yeah, I guess without full locomotion, that's probably not a thing. Yeah, are there puzzles?
There are puzzles in this game.
Okay. So guys, here's what we know about this so far. Potentially a little tiny bit of horror, but definitely not a horror game. Only uses move controllers, and there are some puzzles. It's the only game made by this developer. Does not have full locomotion. It's not based on an IP, and there's no vehicles.
You have asked 8 questions.
Okay. Yeah, it can't be pixel ripped, guys. That was my first thought when he said references, because they've made 2 pixel ripped games. Let's see.
Yeah, it's more like Easter eggs, so I wouldn't. Again, just no. It's a standalone game.
Right. It can't be Accounting Plus, guys, because that they've also made Trover. Puzzles. It can't be Room Dark Matter because it's not based on an existing IP. Is it narrative driven?
It is definitely narrative driven.
Definitely narrative driven. It's a big one, guys. I'm using you guys in the chat here. Give me some good questions. Can't be Doctor Who. You guys, no one's paying attention to the questions that are being asked. What is the game from Software in the school? That's Derasane. That fits all the criteria. Is it node-to-node teleportation?
It is node-to-node teleportation.
Ooh, man, we could be onto something here. It definitely gets a little more horror toward the end, so that makes sense there. References, I guess, other From Software games. Man, how do we narrow this down, guys? How do we narrow this down? Does it take place in an English boarding school? Good question, Hugh.
Is that your question?
Yeah.
It does take place at an English boarding school.
Is it Derasane?
It is Derasane. The streak is broken.
Oh
Congratulations. Great job. I saw Nick the Game Cat How and Flame Hat Game Cat say it first. Congratulations. The streak is over, guys.
That
Woohoo!
is so
Great job.
awesome, man. I really, really appreciate all the help, guys. I don't know if I would have gotten that on my own, but holy crap. Yeah, the second you guys brought up Durastan, I looked, it was like, fits all the criteria. We're good.
Yeah.
Woo, losing streak officially over, you guys.
Over. Yes.
So very happy. Man.
And I have Nick Mulo to thank for beating that game. I got the platinum in that game, actually.
Yeah, you just have to beat
The only
game,
thing I hate about
right?
that game, I beat the game, do like one extra thing. It's actually a pretty decent game.
Yep.
I just, the node teleportation and the click turning gave me a freaking headache. It's a bad idea to do that. And don't ever make an exploration game or a game where you have to backtrack a bunch with exploration teleportation. So bad. In fact, just don't ever make a game with click turning and teleportation only.
Jeremy, the NES rookie with the New Zealand $2 says, the streak is broken. Yes, it is. Thank you so very much.
Braxbro asks what references are in the game. The girl is the same girl from Bloodborne, or she's like wearing the same stuff from Bloodborne.
Yeah, there's some From Software references in there.
It's been like 7 years since I played Bloodborne, so I can't remember what her name is or what that place was called.
Yeah. Great game, though. Great game. I agree with you. Node-to-node teleportation, not necessary. Certainly could have used full locomotion. Guys, so much fun hanging out with you guys during this longer than usual PSVR Gamescast Live. Hopefully you're all out there playing Song in the Smoke. Hopefully, if you weren't before, that maybe we convinced you today. That new patch is amazing, dude. Like, that's all I want to do for the rest of the night is go back into the game and just really enjoy the new level of polish on this 10 out of 10, aka now 11 out of 10 game. So congrats out there to 17-bit, dude. And it was really, really nice. I just want to say this. It was really, really nice seeing all the other developers out there on Twitter yesterday, basically congratulating 17-bit and saying, because obviously Jay Kasdal, he's been in the industry for a long time. He knows a lot of different people. Yeah. And so it was really nice seeing the outpouring of support for a VR-only game from all these different developers out there on Twitter.
4 years. It looked like it was in development for 4 years as well.
Yeah, dude, I love, like, we have an amazing community, but also the developers out there have an amazing community, and they're so supportive of each other. And it was just really, really nice to witness that.
I haven't seen that before, I don't think, because seeing so many developers and, the producer at Enhanced Games and like all these random people that are like, have notable things in the industry, notable creations and games and IPs saying something about it. It was very interesting to see. So cool that they got a lot of love from other developers as well. I agree. Great community out there.
Big time. Big time. Guys, we want to thank all the moderators out there who are making my life easier, not only here, but over on Discord. So make sure you join us over on Discord, get in on some multiplayer gaming, get in on some conversations about horror movies, video games, PSVR, all sorts of things. Click the link in the description below. Also, shout out to Miles Dyer, Jay Meow, and of course, Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry, my Jeremy the NES rookie. He's mine. You can't have him. He's mine. I love him dearly. Also, shout out, of course, to AJ, the guy I could not do this show without. Make sure you go to PSVR Underground and watch his channel. Killing it, man. October is awesome. I can't believe we're almost a third of the way through it. I'm like nervous. I'm like, how we need to enjoy this month more. So good. Guys, thank you to everybody who watched the show. Thank you to everybody who helped me out with 20 questions. Thank you to everybody who tipped. We appreciate you. Make sure you head over to patreon.com/withoutparole if you want to make sure we get AJ hired on this thing and get that rolling as fast as possible. And of course, thank you to everybody who watched the show, sat back, didn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much. AJ, can I cue the cat?
Cat Brian, and have a wonderful weekend. Go play Song in the Smoke. Go play the Arashi update to Todd, the father.
Mucking
Gamecat. Homie, Ben Dawson, Justin Cassidy, Dan Kiefer, Hack the Gamecat. I knew it was lit up in here. The VR Grid says buy Song in the Smoke. I agree. LC2552 beats the musical Gamecat. Beat.
Not, oh God. It sounds like a Casio keyboard.
Confusing Gamecat. Time to play with Gamecats. I watched him streaming a little bit the other day. I subbed to him at one point. I forgot he posted something on the end, and I watched it. No, that's right, the game Feline Rock Metal, brother. You gotta send me that metal mixtape you made with your friends and send it on a Sony Walkman. Brax, bro.
What are you even talking about anymore? What are you even talking about?
Well, in case I don't see you later, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Zach Lightning says, I'm starving. Good night. I'm hungry too. I'm going to get some to eat. Justin Cassidy, Ash, the VR, the groovy Gamecat. Give me some sugar, baby. Ben Dawson, Endeavor One. Mad respect to you, homies, for making this Arashi update. Thank you so much, guys. I can't wait to stream it this weekend. I'm so excited. Ian Stanbridge, Tornado's Tail must make the stream more reliable. Yes, he is the Wi-Fi connection for Brian's computer. Nick Mulo, the Gamecat. Albert, good to see you, dude.
Albert.
Speed Rummin. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a minute, I don't think. Next week, I'm going to get Song in the Smoke. Been hyped since they announced. I got to say, man, I was so hyped for Song in the Smoke, and it exceeded my expectations. Speaking of which, Song in the Flame Cat. Fire, fire, fire. Everybody, have a wonderful weekend. It's not a cartoony piece of shit, Emily Baxter, so you can go play it. And thank you, Sci-Fi Gamecat Henry, for your timestamps. And hello, Anakazi and Javier Tamara. What's up, J-Meow? Have a wonderful weekend, guys. Guy Son Fist Bump to you.
It's the longest outro ever. It's like 17 minutes, man. It's longer than the fucking show itself.
AJ.
Oh my god. I know we're offending somebody. I know we are.
It's a game.
I know it's a game.